Hello, 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 and welcome to ULPLM.
Universal Light, Pure Love Mysteries.
And today we have a special guest. She's been on before, motivational speaker, content creator, just straight up inspiration, muse, right? Li Cara. So hi, Li, how are you?
Hello. Mwah. I'm so happy to be back on with you guys, and this time I get to chat with Aaron too. So this is like beautiful. I get the dynamic duo here. I love it.
Dynamic duo.
I'm going to share if that's okay. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to share it on my page.
Yes, if everyone wants to take just a second here at the beginning to kind of
please share. Yeah,
go ahead and share. I will do a little saging.
Oh, that would be lovely. I did that too before I came on, so that's beautiful. We'll get that double dose on each end, right?
Yes.
All right.
Let's see if I gotta... Nope.
I think we got to learn how to tie a little better. We kind of make our own, and it's the string is just flying off of there.
That's cool though. I love that. I would love to make my own. Oh my goodness, that's a great idea. See, now you're sparking with creativity.
Yeah, we just bought a little white sage plant, and it has been growing amazingly. So we can make it, and they're little, but they work amazing, and they smell great.
Well, they're probably like vegetables. Even when you cook vegetables at home or when you grow them, they taste so much better than the ones that you get in the store. So I'm sure that stuff is so much better than the stuff that you get out in the world.
It's garden sage, I believe, not white sage.
Oh, is it garden sage?
Yeah.
Oh, garden sage.
Oh, I bet it smells really good. I bet it smells like you're cooking something delicious every time.
It does kind of smell like because we're cooking it.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
All right, let's see here. I think I got a couple shares here, but go ahead and.
All right.
I'm
not allowed to share, and I can only share into two groups or rooms, chats. So, I get disqualified quickly.
Oh no!
Sounds like my mom's home.
That's all right.
Anyway, she left the room to bark. I'm kind of happy about that. I was expecting a loud noise. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, kind of go on what you were talking about earlier today about anger and being able to kind of, be in balance with yourself and learning how to take that anger or that passion and turn it into something encouraging and inspirational as opposed to just spreading that anger everywhere.
Right. More of it. Anger is something that I struggle with. Not because I get too angry, but because I don't know how to feel angry. And I was always taught as a child that good girls don't yell and good girls don't raise their voice and good girls don't get mad. And any expression of anger was discouraged and smushed down. And I was told that's not what good girls do. And I was a people pleaser. I'm still a people pleaser. And so I would do everything that I could to go along with that. But this carried on into my regular life because I would never speak up. I would never let my anger out. I would always internalize it. I was a cutter until I was 43 years old, just about. And I really always put that anger at myself and loathed myself, through this journey that I've been on. And especially for the last year or so, because I've had space to myself. I'm separated from my husband and he's gone on and moved out and so he's on the road. And so I am alone in my space with just me and my son, and he's a teenager. He keeps to himself, So I'm in this space where I have room to have an emotion without anybody looking at me, without me having to worry, am I going to lose their love because I'm throwing a hissy fit, right? So I've been able to kind of explore that energy of being angry, of allowing anger, of really feeling it, where it was a complete mystery. I did a show maybe back in February of 2017, and I literally said, somebody help me because I have no idea how to deal with anger, and let's talk about that. And so it was just this like round table with all the people that were in the show, just chatting about how they do it and what I could do. And because I get forgiveness so deeply. And when I get angry, I immediately forgive. Boom. Right? Mm-hmm. So now have I given myself room to even feel what I'm feeling because I'm so concerned about taking their burden of their anger or whatever it is, and allowing them to have that space, right? Today, what I was talking about, I did a show earlier at the Akashic Academy where I was talking about how you handle when you get angry externally and with people that you love. And then when I did the show from my couch, because I get a little informal and I sit on my couch and do another half hour, 45 minutes or so, I was really talking about anger at social injustice and anger at things in the world and the frustration that we get into as we sit here in our little happy bubbles and stare out into this world that can look so incredibly ugly to us. And I know that a lot of us in the community, we refuse to watch the news. We refuse to turn on the television. If somebody gets us in a place where we feel like they're a negative person, we won't deal with them anymore. We put them on hold. We say, I'm not going to deal with you because you're negative. We want to exist in this bubble of unicorns and rainbows and only mentor those who feel the same way as we do. And really, I always say that when you don't face the fire, it doesn't go out. If you turn your back on the ugly things, it doesn't make them stop happening.
It grows.
Exactly. It grows if you ignore it. Just like feelings inside of us, we do the same thing. Our internal life is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So what happens within us is the same thing that's reflected around us. We know logically and through our journeys that you have to go into those dark places, that you have to look at every part of your ugliest self. But that's where you learn the most. That's where you grow the most. You don't grow just by looking at how much you love everyone. You grow by overcoming the fact that you get jealous if somebody becomes friends with your friend and it seems like they like them better. You grow when you figure out that, oh my God, I have this control thing, and it comes from feeling out of control as a child. That's where the growth comes from, is the ugly things. And so we know within ourselves, you have to love those things, right? You have to accept those things. You have to hug them, give them a little kiss, figure out why they're there, and then you release them. We need to apply that same energy to the external world, right? We need to apply that same energy because we are those who know how to manipulate energy. There are people in our community who can do remote healings and long distance chakra healings and balancing like what you guys do. You're not in the room putting hands on people. You're literally using your energy through the collective to connect with them. We, as the light workers, are awake for a reason. One of the things I said on the show is it seems like a lot of us are doctors who only treat well people. We only spread our message to the people who are willing and open to listen to it, when what we need to be doing is loving those people who need the unconditional love the most, the people who do hate, the people who are doing those bad things. When we look out into the world and we see all this stuff happening, it's our first reaction to get angry at what's happening, like at our borders here in America and, putting little kids in cages or for whatever reason it is. It's about looking at that and we get so angry and then we either turn away or we shout more anger at it and we get even angrier about it and adding more fire to a fire that's already going, adding more fire to a situation that's already incredibly flammable and has millions of people sending it hate, sending it anger, right? We are awake early because we know how to counter that with cool water, with ice, even if you have to send ice pellets like bullets, but it's got to be a cooling, loving energy that we send towards this. I think that it's a big mistake for us to turn away from the negative things. I know you guys do a lot of shows on the injustices that happen. So you're not one of those people that say, I'm not watching the news and I'm not looking at what's going on. You want to be educated and you look at everything and you pay attention to everything. I think that there are a huge percentage of our community that really wants to live in their bubble of unicorns and rainbows.
Yes. And that's where the show with I was about to call him Leo, but that's his last name. I'm sorry. Maximize yesterday. It can be just like any other drug or any other thing that we get lost in and just try to, when we neglect all the aspects, when we don't, when we fight or get angry about how we're dumbing down our children, but when we ourselves are saying, I refuse to look at this or learn about what's at the root of that problem, or I'm not even going to look at that issue. Well, then that issue is growing, and it's you know what I mean? You're not, until you really understand why people are doing the things they do, until you get down to the root of that issue, it stays, it remains.
Yeah.
And I think, and certain people or certain levels, like the higher powers or the powers that be, right? A lot of this is activism. It is, and we've been doing this for a few years. So some of the angry posts and the outrage that they're sharing is fact, and they're showing, hey, enough is enough.
Yeah.
They're saying stop, and I'm seeing now some of it works.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why they still continue to do it. But some of the ones where they're just throwing accusations without any real substantial proof,
snippets of really awful things,
or like singling a person out, or there actually is, you can put names to the people that are doing wrong, but you need to pay attention and do a little bit of research before putting that on the internet.
Yes.
And I say that because I've done that myself.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's so much out there that it's hard to tell what's real and what's not real, unfortunately. Yeah. But one of the things that I always used to say, and I mean, maybe this is, but when I'm in an argument, or I don't even like to call them, I was saying today, I don't even like to call them arguments, because to me that has like a negative connotation. It makes me think of anger, right? So when I would have a debate or a discussion with someone, number one, I'm not letting myself be angry, because I don't exist in that space in that moment, right? But I always think, if I'm trying to get you to understand my point of view, I want you on my side. I'm not going to insult you and try to make you feel stupid. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to tell you what an idiot you are. Like, there's a line and a way to do this. I want you to be listening with an open heart and open ears. When we approach it from a place, even the energy of anger will cause some people to put that shield up so strong. Mm-hmm. I mean, anger is really a self-defense mechanism that stops people from seeing how vulnerable and how hurt you are by whatever's going on, whether it's socially or personally. And you use the anger, it's both a sword and a shield that we can use to attack and we can use to protect, to keep people away. So when we even come into a discussion about any topic and we have that anger inside of us, it already makes the other person go, whoop, I'm not listening to what you're saying because I'm so busy protecting myself. And it makes them dig in with their own facts and their own beliefs even deeper, even if they've agreed with you. I said on the show today, sometimes the other person is like, yes, I was wrong, but they're not going to let it go because of pride, because ego, whatever, they're going to stand there and fight no matter what, which we see in our politics so much, because there are things that happen that are horrible and there are other things that happen that are horrible. Well, you did this and you did this, but can't you see that's wrong? Well, yes, it's wrong, but I'm still going to defend it. Yes, it was wrong, but I'm still going to stand by it. And both sides just, that's it. They're not listening anymore. They're not listening.
Because one side isn't willing to play the other side on the other side for a minute and entertain it.
Right.
And the other side isn't willing to, that's where they can, we're able to be divided, is paying attention to the petty differences. A lot of them are smaller differences that can get really, they're not small, but they pay attention to the things that really are always going to be an argument. There can always be an argument there instead of the real solutions. And so all the while that, things are continuing the way they are, and we're still arguing about the same things.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And we've been doing this, as far as
hundreds of years,
far as back as I can remember.
Yeah.
Probably thousands of years, if not longer.
Right. And I mean, just to take it on the political stage, they have purposefully pitted us against each other.
Yes.
And all of us know that, but that doesn't mean that it's pointless to stand up for the right and for the wrong, for the moral things of being a human, and the things that are right from that viewpoint, the things that are full of compassion and mercy and empathy. Just because they say, oh, it's a losing battle and both sides are in it, screw it, I'm not going to deal with any of it. that doesn't change what we're actually arguing about, whether it's racism or bigotry or putting kids in cages or invading countries and killing them or having, whatever it is that's going on, ignoring disaster victims in Puerto Rico, whatever it is that's going on, that's not being taken care of, that gets you realizing, wow, they're not coming at this from a place of compassion for the people. Right. They're thinking narcissistically about how it looks for them. Right. Yeah. And that's an energy that exists on both sides. And they think, we'll keep them fighting and then we'll keep doing what we want to do. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep standing up for what's right and what's wrong.
You should always be aware and be paying attention to what they're doing, because the moves that they make affect all of us. Absolutely. So, it's important for us to pay attention. I think, what's happened over the years up until the last few years has been all of this stuff is coming out into the light. And people are like, whoa, all this stuff I just saw in movies, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what, we kind of got put to sleep just, in that fantasy of, well, that could never actually happen.
Right.
But it does all the time. And it has been for a long time. And now it's being exposed.
Yeah.
And so I think it scares a lot of people to want to deal with that.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people that don't want to speak out against it because of their job. I kind of understand, but when it comes down to life or death and something we can change.
Yeah.
I feel like that. Oh, there goes my camera. I feel like that's something that, we need to stay aware of and stay active with.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. An interesting point about the movie thing. In 1992, I lived in the Orlando area. I worked at a restaurant that was about a mile from the entrance of Disney World. And, you meet, when you work a graveyard shift, you meet very interesting people. Okay. Yes. So one of the people that I met was telling me about this conversation that he had with an old timer who was high up in the underground of Disney. If you know anything about Disney, below the surface, they are layers and layers and layers and layers of basement properties, okay, where other stuff goes on other than the happiest place on earth. Okay. So one of the things that this old timer told him is that these things that you see in the movies, and this was in 92, many of them already exist or are very close to existing. And they put them in movies so that we think that they're not going to happen, so that we think that they didn't happen or that they don't exist. Right. Yeah. Or that we can't beam people up, or that we can't shoot lasers, or that we don't have the capacity to fly to the moon. I mean, there's whole groups of people that think that we teleport people to Mars to do work in labor camps right now. Like there's entire communities that believe that. And the things that this guy said was about, you put it in the movies and people think that you keep them dumb because they think that's just in the movies, and they'll look away from it when it actually happens. When you put the aliens in movies, then they think that they're all fake in the real world. It's this campaign of misdirection and misinformation, which has been used by so many different controlling oppressive forces throughout history. And I wouldn't say starting with religion, with Christianity, but the Catholic Church did a whole heck of a lot of oppressing and controlling what went into the Bible. Not to say that there's not wonderful, amazing knowledge and wisdom in the Bible, but what is in there has been picked and chosen. It's been used to oppress populations. It's been used as motivation for war, saying it was about religion, but really it was about riches. It was about land. It was about, getting more people on my workforce. That control has been used for so many centuries to hold us down. And the fact that our eyes are opening to this and starting to be aware is really kind of a miraculous thing,
Right.
It is.
It is.
It can be very, very unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when your belief system is challenged, it hurts.
It does.
It breaks your heart for a minute.
Yeah.
But as long as you're willing to stick with it and go and entertain that thought, we talk about this a lot on the show. Be able to kind of think a little bit deeper, other than just the surface stuff you're judging. If there's a topic that's really triggering you, or something that's triggering you, find out why. Go into it a little deeper. Learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
And that tends to ease my mind. As far as that, because it happens. It happens to every one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if it doesn't, then we're not moving forward. We're not evolving.
Right. You don't have your eyes open enough if you're not seeing things that don't challenge you.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. You're right. Yep.
Because you're choosing not to see them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like
A lot of the
basically
time.
making a choice not to grow. And we all have that choice. You're free to make that,
Yes.
you know.
And many people do choose that. And many people choose that when they get on this spirituality path, because it is hard. Do you guys curse on this show? It's fucking hard. And it can be like the worst pain, because you have to dredge up all that yucky stuff, and not just what was done to you, but what you did to other people.
Yep.
Yeah.
What you did wrong to other people. And it can be a really hard road to go down that. And some people get there, and number one, they think, oh, I did a meditation and I cleared my chakras 20 times. I'm magically cured. No, it took you 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get to this level of dysfunction and pain and suffering. It's going to take you a little while to, to dig through that stuff. It's like having a hoarder's house. And every time something bad happens in our life, we hoard that little box and put it away and say, I'm not looking at that. That's in the past. And meanwhile, your house is filling up with all of this stuff. And it's going to take longer than one afternoon of picking through some papers, to really clean out all that crap. And that's where a lot of those things that make us angry. That's a lot of those things that make us angry are hidden in the dark recesses of those giant piles of boxes that we keep inside of us. Because when we're angry at someone else, even though it's about what they did, it's really, it reminds us of a feeling that we had so many years ago that traumatized us. The anger is a symptom. It's not an actual emotion. It's a reaction. It's a symptom of a deeper emotion underneath that stems from pain, lack of love, losing out, fear. It stems from these places of suffering where we are so scared of losing love or losing something in our life that we recognize as love, whether it's materially or, everybody has different priorities, but it's that exact emotion that then masks itself in this energy of anger that we shoot outwards as our defense and as our attack,
Right.
And when we have those moments of anger, we really have to, first of all, recognize that they're coming. Because, you usually get some signs like a migraine coming on. You get those little signs up. I think I'm getting a migraine, although they might come a lot quicker when it's anger, that's for sure. But, you have to kind of pay attention to it. And if you're not the type of person who can not react in the moment, one of the steps in Unleash Your Light is ignore your feelings. And I don't mean all feelings. What I mean is reacting to those feelings that come from pain and suffering, because more often than not, they're not your authentic self speaking, and you're not coming from unconditional love when you react from that. So that energy of anger is one of those things that's created from those emotions of the pain and the suffering. So you have to go behind it. If you're not a person who can hold your reaction and say, I need a moment, then you've got to get the heck out of there before you say or do something you're going to regret. Because so many of us have that where we've lashed out and hurt someone that we love, sometimes irreparably, saying something we didn't even mean, or saying something that we knew wasn't true, but we knew it was going to hurt them, because because we have our sword, right? And the shield is so that they don't see how hurt we really are, because now we're vulnerable. We want to be powerful in that moment of anger and show them something. But really, we're feeling weak and we're feeling vulnerable. So to dig in underneath of those emotions and trace them back. When was the last time I felt like this? Who made me feel like this the last time? What was happening? And you can trace it back on this vine all the way back to the root that you got to rip out, And as you do this, you will get angry less and less. You will react in a different way because you're shifting your energy about it. Understanding always that the other person has a divine being in them. There's some of us who have very contentious people in our life who can be evil, almost so hateful, so angry with us. It's so often family members are the ones that we love the most. When you're going through breakups or you're going through arguments with the person that you love. And those are the ones that can hurt us the most, right? We have to really recognize that they also have a divine being in them, even if they don't know it, because a lot of us have family who aren't in this. And just recognizing that they're acting out of pain, they're lashing out from a place where they're hurting, can sometimes help you to put the brakes on enough to not engage in that moment.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's just it. And I'm guilty. I mean, I do ask for a minute usually, but especially when I was raising my kids, they don't like to give you that minute.
Sure.
So very guilty of lashing out, and not in healthy ways. And so, yeah, but when you can take that minute to just kind of step back and really try to observe the situation for what it is, as opposed to that emotion, that definitely helps you get through it a lot better. And then a lot of times, that anger kind of eases and the real emotion shows itself, and you can kind of deal with it.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, I may have lost you guys. It's just me in here now. Hey, everyone. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Oh, here you're coming back. There you are.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Hey, I use BeLive too. This thing was glitchy as heck today. I'm surprised that you guys even got on. So that's good. That's really good. It was bad this morning on BeLive. I had to restart my first show like 3 times because it was so it wouldn't put me live. It would say I was live and not go live. So they're a little glitchy today.
Yes, it has.
I was just talking to tech, BeLive tech, so tech support. So I'm just going to let them know that it's working now.
Okay, good, beautiful. Oh, that's a good thing. That's
yes,
very good
yes.
thing.
There's some there's some cool comments in here.
Absolutely. We are here for lessons over and over. And, you know, I talk about this all the time, but you'll see patterns in your life where you meet the same damn person with a different face. And they do to you the same damn thing that you fall for every freaking time. And or you know someone, you're like, they always date such losers, or they always get taken advantage of, or I always end up doing all the work and everyone else gets to skate. And over again, this thing will happen to us. And they happen because we haven't gotten the lesson yet, because we haven't figured it out. And I always think even after we get the lesson, they do one more test run. They send you one more person
just to make sure you really got it.
Exactly.
Did you really? I know you got it, but did you get it?
Did you really?
Because you might get it, but you haven't mastered it yet.
Right, exactly. And they'll send you one more asshole, or they'll send you one more person, or they'll send you one more situation, and you really have to like be on top of it and not react to it, and have your react from that place of unconditional love. That is our mission as those who have awakened early, is to embody unconditional love in our everyday life and to spread it as much as possible. And I've said this a lot, but I really feel like the merging of the human and that divine energy, which literally it's like the electricity in our brain. We're filled with electrical energy and water. So how can we not be amplifying everything that goes on in our mind, in our energy, right? I feel like we're almost like frequency, like a radio. And like we're always sending out these thoughts to the people around us. And even if they don't hear them as thought, like telepathy, they are feeling them as energy. Everybody knows someone who walks in the room and everybody gets happy, or walks in the room and everyone's like, oh, geez, this one. And they don't have to say anything. Like maybe they're in a good mood for once, but everybody's ready and on guard now because they all get that energy from them when they walk in the room, you know? And that's kind of our gift, to understand that we're doing that. And there's so many of us now that the more of us that can do this, I almost think it's like, do you remember Hands Across America from like the 90s when they were going to make they were all going to hold hands all the way across the country. They made this one long chain. I feel like that's the way we can do with the energy of our minds, that we can like literally, if enough of us are doing this, that the energy is going to like start touching and creating these fields of this positive, unconditional love energy. And then something's going to go pop and click, you know, like something's going to snap into place.
Focusing that is very powerful. But, you know, we already have that collective consciousness subconsciously. You know, all of us are picking up on each other's stuff. And, you know, that's why a lot of things, you know, we're getting similar ideas, or you've had an idea and then somebody else came up with it, you know, a week later, capitalized on it.
We all do shows on the same thing. Like you'll notice, like, and I'm not watching everybody. I don't watch everybody that's out there, but I'll just see like 20 shows on anger and be like, I just did a show on anger like 3 days ago, or on forgiveness, or on whatever it is, you know. It's these ways in the collective, but it's those people who don't realize that they're connected to the collective, who aren't getting those messages loud and clear, that need our energy the most, because we need to start pulling them into, even though they're already a part, we need to start pulling them into awareness of their part. and awareness that what happens to my
question.
brother happens to me.
There's a good question for you, for all of us.
What lesson is it for being kind to and getting used over and over again? That's individual to you, but it probably has something to do with how much you value yourself.
Yep.
If you believe that you deserve punishment for the things that you have done in your life, people will show up to punish you. The universe doesn't tell us, okay, the universe doesn't give us a lesson if you feel nobody listens to me. The universe doesn't try to change your mind by sending you 20 people to listen to you. They'll send you 50 people who make you feel like garbage and don't pay attention to you so that you can overcome that from within, from self-validation and the journey that you do individually into your heart to realize your own worth and to embrace that divine entity within us. Because when we do that, you are literally embodying the I am energy. When you can get your emotions in line with that and love yourself, because we have a divine energy in us. How can we not love ourselves? How can we look at other people and say, I love you unconditionally, and then look in the mirror and say, I hate you? We do it.
Yeah.
We do it.
And, I think, Chrissy, it's, my answer to that question is, you've got to kind of decide or make proper choices on the people that you're around. I mean, of course, you want to hold compassion and hold space for people, even if you don't get along with them. But yeah, we still need to be aware of danger, and that's what we're talking about. There's the fear of it. That's what gets everything all messed up, what paralyzes us. Just being, aware of the danger and acting accordingly. So if you're getting used by the same person over and over again, stop letting them use you.
And if it's different people,
so
then obviously
that probably is happening through enabling. That's kind of what I feel. So it could be a lot of different things, but really, if cut them off.
Yeah.
if you're feeling used, cut it off.
Yep.
Enough.
There's a piece of you that believes that you deserve that. There's a piece of you that believes you deserve that treatment. In my own marriage, we were in this vicious cycle of dysfunction where he thought that he didn't deserve someone like me. And so he would sabotage and step outside the marriage or do whatever on his side, even though he loved me so much. And I thought that that was exactly what I deserved because I was a horrible person and I hated myself. And I thought I was ugly and repulsive and manly. And why would anyone want to be with me anyways? And look at what I've done in my past. And so I deserve this. You know what I'm saying? And so it created this perfect cycle of feeding our issues because he thought he didn't deserve me. And so he screwed up over and over again. And I forgave him because I thought that was exactly what I deserved. And we had 20 something years of this cycle fitting together perfectly, beautifully. We fed each other's issues beautifully.
We teach people how to treat us. That's
absolutely.
That is so true.
Yep.
Absolutely.
By the way we act, interact with them or react to them. If we have children, we react to their bad behavior by rewarding it.
Right.
They're going to continue to act bad because they're getting rewards. Yeah. And that's the same with people, as a whole. If you allow yourself to be treated poorly without speaking up for yourself or at least getting away from the situation, depending, each situation calls for a different reaction, but if you allow it to keep happening, and this happens all the time, like you were saying in your marriage, it was so dysfunctional. But you grow to have this codependency on that. You almost get yourself used to it. Right. And so it becomes an addiction in itself. Yeah. Right. Even and enabling
we attracted it because that needed healed.
Yeah.
We attracted it because we needed healed about how we felt about ourselves. The universe didn't send me someone to tell me over and over again how wanted I was. It sent me someone who showed me that I wasn't lovable, that I wasn't wantable, that nobody should want me. And this is so that I could figure it out on my own, that core belief is completely incorrect.
Yeah.
See, and this is what we were talking about earlier about negative influence in your life. There's also negative influences that we have to go through and that we need to show us. If you think it's negative, it's probably because it's touching on a place in us that's unhealed. If you interpret it as that.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, there needs to be kind of a middle ground. I feel like I feel like there's times when you do need to put it out of your life. You know, there's times when some people are so chaotic and so dramatic. They don't want the help. They don't want your friendship. They want
That's true.
100%.
You got to deal with it first.
Right, you do have to deal with it.
First
you have to
in
deal with
yourself,
it.
not with them. You have to figure out, why did this affect me so deeply? Now I'm making a choice that their behavior is a deal breaker. I forgive them and I love them and I set them free. But you can't just go, I'm not dealing with you, and keep that anger and keep that issue, because someone else is going to come along and do the exact same thing.
It'll crawl out under the rug. I promise.
That's right. Absolutely. It's common throughout life, like a conduit for kindness gets greeted by jealousy and anger. Yeah, that's fear. People are scared of kindness because it's different than what they know. There's a lot of people who believe if you're kind to them, you want something from them, because that's the life that they live. That's the energy that's been created in them. Every time that somebody was kind to them, they took something away from them.
Yeah.
So it's that
certain people are nice to me. That's my first question is, what do you want? I mean, only with certain people. I'm not like that in general.
Well, right. And it's for some people, they do want something from you.
Yeah.
But, and people call me naive for this, I go into each interaction with someone, especially a new person, open-hearted, without walls up. And I don't question their motives, and I don't ask them why they're being nice to me or why they're doing, even in my mind, I don't question it. I go into it open-hearted, because if I have to be hurt, it's obviously a lesson I need to go through. And when I figure that out, I won't get so many people like that. And when I really figure it out, I'll be able to spot them a mile away and say, I'm not going to do something. I'm not going to have it, engage with you in that way. I'm not going to open myself up in that way. But I go into each new interaction vulnerable, because I need the lessons. I want the lessons, because the ones that hurt help the most.
That they do. Yep.
That's beautiful, Sharon. I'm so happy. I love Sharon's videos.
She's doing great. Her garden, so much. She's got her garden rocking.
Oh, yeah.
And it is the summer solstice today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So happy summer solstice to everyone.
Yes, happy summer solstice, everybody.
Oh, yeah. It's probably dark over there. I think they're 5 hours later than me, and I'm on the East Coast. So I think she's probably in the dark.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying, Sharon. You have to draw a line.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
because when it comes to a point where you're trying to work on it and you're working on it, but the other person refuses to.
Right.
That's when you want to step away from it and just,
hold that love and
do
just
your thing. Go create your garden like you did.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's beautiful.
Oh yeah. And some people will always choose not to grow, not to crawl out of the box that they live in. They like their illusions. They like the world that they've built. They want to hold on to their beliefs, and there's nothing that you can do to change them, to heal them, to save them. It doesn't matter how many times we try to love them or how hard we love them.
Right.
Some people don't want to leave their comfy box. They wear their pain like an old comfortable bathrobe.
Yeah.
And a lot of us do that too in certain areas,
Oh, yes.
But when you take off the bathrobe and you go naked, I watched Keith Blanchard the other day. I don't know if you guys ever know who he is. He's amazing. And he was talking about swimming naked in the sea of divinity, and how when you allow that divinity to change your doubt to trust, and you just jump in vulnerable, ready for whatever the world's going to bring you, that it shifts all of your emotions and shifts your perspectives in a way that allows you to get the most out of those situations. I just thought that was a beautiful analogy about swimming naked in the ocean of divinity. Maybe because I worked at a nudist resort, I don't know, but that always appeals.
I've swam naked a few times.
I do. Yeah,
I grew up with a pool, so especially when I was a little kid, me and my brothers and sisters would just, for the fun of it, just because we didn't think about any of that.
Jump right in, of course.
Just go swimming without trunks on.
That's right. I mean, they used to all give us baths together. I don't know if parents still do that, where they put all the kids
with my kids. I mean,
and naked pictures. Remember those? I mean, they were harmless.
God, now you can't even.
You couldn't do that nowadays. You couldn't do that.
The people who are like, if you actually got it developed, they would like literally report you. They're taking pictures of children.
Yeah.
It's crazy because our minds and the world has gone to this this place, you know, this pushback, you know, we keep having these waves of this energy of unity, right? And I look back, I mean, I'm 40, I turn 48 next month, so I have close enough memories of that hippie movement, not that I was in it, but of it, right? Where we had all this peace and love and everything was going beautifully. And then we went through this time through the late 70s and through the 80s where it was more me, and we're going to be materialistic and we're going to be more into ourselves and climbing the ladder. Then when we got to the early 90s, there was this period where not only was there starting to be unity and a positive outlook on life, but there was a lot of racial unity. We weren't afraid to speak on these subjects. There was no politically correct type of a thing, but there also wasn't the insulting that happens now that we're supposed to be politically correct. You saw African Americans embracing their culture and mixing and blending with so many different things. And then everything seemed to like come to this abrupt halt, and everything stopped and shifted again. And then we had this period again, especially after 9/11. And even though we were all together as a nation, it was an anger-fueled unity that we had. And so now we're getting back into this, another one about 15 years after that, you know, little period there, where once again, we're coming into this cycle of unity with each other. But this time it feels like, I used to not know one person who knew anything about this kind of stuff. I didn't know anything about it in late 2012 when I had my awakening. Nothing. I knew nothing about spirituality. Oh, new age crystals, hippy dippy bullshit, right? That was it. Now, literally every place I go, I find someone, and I go to like little tiny towns way up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm like at the grocery store. And I am really like running into so many people who believe in the energy, who believe we're all connected, who believe in unconditional love, even if they don't always know how to embody that. There's so many more people who are getting some sort of a message from the collective and opening their eyes. I just think it's a beautiful thing that you're seeing it in so many places.
Yeah, Kate, I think that's true. She says, I hate to keep throwing these one-liners out, but I'm inspired to say that many of the things that we do are kind of self-serving, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they are. But I think it's important that we find something that's self-serving that helps others.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, because we are, by nature, we're all kind of narcissistic.
Right.
Like we have to be. We have to be to survive. We have to care for ourselves first, right?
Yeah.
But yes, and things that we do, if we do something good for somebody and it makes us feel good, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. Don't feel guilty about feeling good about doing something good.
Right.
You know, so I understand what you're saying. You kind of have a little different delivery on it. But yeah, I mean, and that's what you were talking about earlier as far as, you know, everybody coming together. And one thing in the 70s and the 80s was we could joke about race.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't, you know, exclude anybody. And I think some comedians still do that. Some
Not
people,
many.
but I mean, there's no you won't see a Blazing Saddles made
No.
or something like
You
Blazing
wouldn't
Saddles.
see Raw
That's a
going on.
hilarious movie. It still is.
Richard Pryor, the Mel Brooks stuff, I love Mel Brooks. I think that is the stupidest, funny stuff, right? But some of it was so offensive, you know?
Yes.
Offensive.
It was offensive. It was offensive. It was that sarcasm to make, you know, so people could get it. It was like, hey, wake up, you know, you're being stupid right now.
Carlin. A George Carlin type who said whatever the hell he wanted to say.
Yeah, George Carlin.
You know, Richard Pryor, who said whatever he wanted to say. Eddie Murphy, who would do his impersonations of different races, and nobody went, he's a terrible racist and he needs to apologize to the entire white. Like nobody said that. They went, oh, he's funny. I like Eddie Murphy.
It was funny.
It
still is funny.
Even though there was still racism, even though there was still a divide, it was the coming together. Humor is one of those things that brings you together. Sports, music, food, these things that we love, that we have these strong emotions about.
Debate.
We were coming together over them. Yes, debate. We're coming together over them. And it seems like the fact that we have so many more people, and I talked about this last week about more about feminine issues, but we're rising with so much positive energy and love that there's a pushback from that balance. And so there's a pushback from those forces of fear and division against us in a very strong way, all over the world, because they see this rising. And so as the energy of love rises, their energy has got to try to rise up and control as well until that pop, whatever that is, that's above my pay grade. But
and that's like devil's advocate here. Yeah, I think that if you think about that pushback or that being angry at, like, the hippie loving lighters.
Right.
A lot of that, some of that will help ground us loving lighters that are way too up there.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a musician and I grew up, since I think the age of 12 playing music. So, and grew up with music. But being around musicians for long periods of time is not something I suggest to anybody. Or, because we're narcissistic. Okay, most of us are narcissistic. We have to at least go through that phase because we have to keep up that persona. We're entertainers, right?
Right.
But it's just, getting any kind of consistency. If you can find a band that you can be together with for more than a year or two,
right, that's
you've
awesome.
lucked out.
Right.
And I was able to do it for 9 years?
Yeah, we did it for a minute.
A little longer than that, 10 years, which was awesome. But that's what's happening is I think it's going to help kind of anchor some of us floaters that want to just keep floating up there and kind of, like we talked about, just kind of sweeping all the bad stuff under the rug.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of, it really is the arguing about most of it is really, it's coming from this belief system of, this is Christianity or whatever religion, this is Muslim, this is, whatever. Usually it's those two that are having the big issues right now. Basically being right.
Yeah.
About their.
Yeah, it's more about being right
religion,
than even about
they stand in that judgment and no, you're not allowed in heaven.
Right.
And that's bullshit.
It's like South Park. It's like South Park. I don't know if you guys saw the South Park movie, but there's this scene where they have all these people at the gates, at the pearly gates, and St. Peter is standing there and he's got his checklist. And they're like, well, I was a Jehovah's Witness and I was da-da-da-da. Well, I was a Catholic and we're the right ones. And they were like, so he's like, no, only some of you are getting in. So which religion is the right one? It was Presbyterian. Oh, okay, Presbyterian. All right, I gotcha. Like how can you say that this religion is right and this religion is wrong? I was always the person that would argue with the Jehovah's Witnesses when they came to the door. That was an entertaining afternoon for me because I would always say to them, convince me that you're right without using your book, without using the Bible. Who am I but a mere mortal? And how am I to choose which religion is right? And that's why this spirituality path is so beautiful because it's open to so many beliefs as long as you are grounded in unconditional love. It doesn't matter how you express it. It doesn't matter whether you want to burn candles or use crystals or sacred geometry or invocations or rituals or whatever it is that you want to do. Like there is a path for you in spirituality as long as your core is embodying unconditional love. I think we're getting little pieces of the puzzle so that more and more of us can be a part, can be included in this movement or whatever.
Yeah, I think she's talking about the comedians and stuff we were talking about. She said making light of everything is what they did. Well, yeah. Have you ever met a comedian and like really, if you get to know a comedian, the really good ones have a lot of issues.
Miserable. They're miserable.
And that's how they get it out. That's how they, and it's able for us to kind of break through some of these censorship things or these things that really bother us and really, trigger us. Like, there's a couple of words I won't say on here, but there's a couple like the C word that not many people like, but it really is just a word. And if you can get past that whole, names will never hurt you, you're going to be okay. And I think that's what a good comedian does. Yeah. They bring truth to light and they also make, kind of make light of it so we can understand it and see it. Because if you tell somebody straight out with fire, sometimes, hey, this is the truth, they're not going to listen. But if you make them laugh, they're going to remember it.
Yeah. Right.
And I think, there aren't that many comedians doing it right now, but there are a few. And I think we need more of that in our society.
Look at what happened at the correspondence dinner. Michelle Wolf did It's a Roast. It's a roast. Yeah. A roast is purposefully, I'm going to insult everyone in the room that I can insult. That is the point of a roast and has been for 100 years since the Friars started it. And though it may not have been at the Friars Club, they started that in DC so that DC can laugh at themselves, so that the government can get a sense of humor and laugh at themselves and like be human for a moment.
Actually see it. Like, this is how people see
that this year.
You know, or see the situation.
You insulted. No, they do that every year. They do it every year to every president, to every congressman, to every news. Like they always, that's the point. It's called a roast. It's called a roast. But we're so caught up in that energy of everyone's out to get me. It's all about me, which it is all about me. But there's a line between self-love and selfish. You know, there's a line between confidence and arrogance. You know, and it is a very fine line to kind of walk when you're learning. Oh, I'll bet the Mormons, I'm sure they're a lot of fun.
Boy.
Kate, that's where we're at. We're in Springville, so we're real close. We're in we're like in deep. I mean, Salt Lake City's kind of progressive, but we're in Springville. That's like small town. Remember that small town in Blazing Saddles? No, it's not that bad. That was parody, but there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
A lot more truth than we care to admit.
Right.
See, but he says we'll take the blacks and what does he say? We'll take the blacks and the Jews.
No, wait, not the Jews.
But we won't take the Irish. And the Irish they got messed with big time for thousands of years.
That's so funny because when they came here, they were the outcasts. You know, we talk about this whole thing about immigration. When the Irish people came over, they were treated terribly. Like I've seen them Far and Away, which I think is a beautiful story about, it's Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman when they were still married and liked each other. And they're two Irish immigrants who come to America and the struggle that they go through. And they're like living in these tenement houses and they're walking through the poop that they throw out the windows because they don't have plumbing. And, it's this whole crazy thing about acceptance and looking at someone saying you're different than me because of where you're born or the color of your skin or what's on the outside. You're fat, you're thin, you're gay, you're straight, you're whatever you are. You know what I'm saying? People judge so much by the exterior and separate and divide based on that. It's just a crazy thing because we're all connected in the same way. We're all there. Yep. Yes, Christina, that's right. You drink on Saturday and pray for forgiveness on Sunday. I talk about the people who go through their days, go through their entire week acting however they want. And then Sunday, they are the most pious people. There are people in our communities too who do exactly the same thing. And they'll come on the air or they will put up all their posts about being loving and being kind. And then boom, you see the other side of them behind the scenes and they're hating themselves and they're rude to their people and they'll blow people off. And they're, it's just like this whole different viewpoint. They're not living their energy of unconditional love. They're speaking it. They're telling it. This is what you should be doing. I'm okay. Everything I do.
And they know. They just like to tell themselves, just like we all do. We all justify.
If you have a problem, then that's your problem. If you don't like how I'm behaving, it sounds like that's your problem. But that's what I did the show on last week, is about your truth and accountability. When you're in this journey, you are also accountable for how it's received. It doesn't mean that your truth isn't your truth, but it does mean that you can deliver it in a way that has kindness and love, I mean, and they're all very fine lines to walk. And that's what we're learning, is to walk that tightrope,
Yep.
Let's see. I'm trying to find some more comments here.
Ex-store directors and managers and wonderful on Sunday. A lot of people live their lives like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that they figure they can do whatever they need to do throughout the week and be as ruthless.
But people don't just do it with church. They do it with, their image.
Yeah.
They don't have to be going to church, but they'll do certain things or just a certain way to be their image.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. But that's kind of we just need to all start being ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that acceptance and ownership when we do something wrong. It's not all about how the other person is taking it, It's also about how we're delivering it, because it takes two people. It takes two people in an interaction. So you're responsible for your side in that interaction just as much as they're responsible for how they receive what you're saying to them. Ooh, I lost them again. I guess they're popping out and coming back in. It's a very fine line to walk, and that's that duality on both sides of every issue. There's duality to it. Do I have a green screen? I don't know if y'all have a green screen, but I have a green screen for you guys.
No
I
camera
guess we
right
don't
now,
get the
but
picture.
I hear you though.
That's all right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for coming on. I think we'll be done because this glitch is really starting to get on my nerves. And I need to handle it. But yeah, it's been a really good
It has
conversation.
been amazing.
And I'm very grateful that you're on. You came on with us, and we have to do it again. Uh-oh, now we lost. All right, thank you, everybody. Hopefully they fix this.
Yes.
But thank you very
Lee.
much for
we'll
being
have you
on,
back
Lee.
on soon.
Beautiful.
Love
Thank
you.
Love you.
Mhm.